Well, BYU is an excellent basketball team, and they're playing very, very well right now. And obviously, getting Yoeli Childs back after the 9-game suspension really changes their team in a very positive way. They're a veteran group. They're deep. They play 8 guys 19 minutes or more. We have 4 guys that average double digits or more, and the 5th guy is really close to that. So they're an experienced group. They're a veteran group. They have great chemistry. The addition of Jake Toolson, who's over 1,000-point scorer and was the WAC Player of the Year, and Kansas offered, and Duke offered, and you name it offered. He's been a great addition, and even though he's a new guy, he's the guy that probably is most comfortable because of their system, right? With Coach Pope being back, they're a very well-coached team. They defend well. Since Childs has been back, they shoot this 3 extremely well, but especially since he's been back, they've been knocking them down at a very, very high clip. So we're going to have to be on point with a lot of our stuff because they put so much pressure on you. It's very, very rare that they don't have 5 guys on the floor that can shoot the 3, and they're all good passers. They're all good decision makers, and so we have our hands full tomorrow. I think they've won like 14 in a row in Vivint, and they beat us 7 times in a row. So, everyone talks about a rivalry, and we want to make it a rivalry, but we got to do our part to make it a rivalry. So, but I think it's a great game for the state of Utah. I think it's a great game for both fan bases, and we're excited about the opportunity on Saturday night.
This is the last year of the Beehive Classic. What is it? What have been your thoughts about the Beehive Classic, and is it good for the basketball community in the state?
Well, I think I've only been here 1 year, so I've experienced it for 1 year. I thought last year was outstanding. Obviously we played Weber, and it looked like a heck of a crowd when BYU played Utah. So that part I think is really good. I'm a huge proponent I'm a history major, so I always where you were, where you are, where you're going, and I'm just a basketball fan. And as a coach at Utah State, I think it's from what I hear and from what I feel and what I've seen, I think it's great for the state when the state schools, and whether it's BYU and Utah State, or BYU and Utah, or Utah State and Utah, or Utah State and Weber State. I think that's something that the fans love to see and want to see. And I know as a coach, I think it's really important. I think I'd love to keep those things going. Obviously, we have I think it's a 6-year contract with Weber State, and I believe a 6-year contract with BYU. And those are the 2 schools that we have contracts with. So I love the fact that the Beehive brought these 4 schools together. And, quite frankly, I thought it would have been cool to add 2 more schools to that, and make it a 6-team kind of round-robin deal. But obviously, that's not where it's at. But hopefully we can come together and have something. I think it's awesome to be able to play home and homes and play on each other's campuses. I think that's become a lost bit in all of Division I, all right, where everyone wants to get together on neutral floor venues. And look what we did with St. Mary's. Obviously, we went to St. Mary's and we didn't get the result we wanted, but now next year they got to come back to our place. And I think that's great for all parties involved. So it's a little disappointing, that's where it's at, but at the same time, that's where it's at, and we'll deal with it and move forward.
Questions?
I was talking to Abel Porter yesterday, and I asked him what he thought the key to you guys' 10-1 start was. He mentioned that he thinks that it's the defense, that sometimes the offense hasn't really come along, but it's been the defense that has helped you guys win games and kind of contributed to the record right now. Do you agree with that? What's your assessment of the 10-1?
Yeah, we're 10-1 and 11 games in, so roughly 33% of our season is done already, which is hard to believe, but certainly, maybe with the exception of 1 game, we've been very good on the defensive end, and that's kind of been our calling card this year, and we're still a work in progress on the offensive end. And that's the one thing, defense always travels with you no matter where you're at. So I'd like to think we can be a good offensive team, and we've definitely showed that in spurts and in a few games as well. But we just we're in a little bit of a funk shooting it right now, but that tends to come and go, and we had those stretches last year too. And we shot ourselves back into a good shooting streak. So part of that too is just our style of play. We have a lot of freedom. We have some new guys involved, and certainly without Keita being there for basically 10 of the first 11 games, and has only played 10 minutes all year. So that's part of it as well. So But I know we got the guys in the right guys in the locker room, and we'll keep moving forward that way. But our defense has been very good.
Can you give us the Nemi time limit in this game, or do you have any idea yet?
I still got to talk to Carl, our athletic trainer, about that. He's just literally a day-by-day guy. He's practiced this week, so that's been good. But it's just going to depend on, we just got out of practice, depends on how the evaluation goes. I mean, right after practice, tonight, and then tomorrow morning. So hopefully he'll be a go. And hopefully he just continues to get better, to get back to where he was.
Coach, you talked about Jake Tolson being comfortable. TJ Haws looks just as comfortable as anybody, and is such a fundamental point guard. Can you just talk about what you see out of him?
Oh, Haws is really good. I mean, I could brag about every one of those guys. And how often as a coach you get to coach 3 guys that have scored 1,000 points? In Yoli Childs and TJ Haws and Jake Toulson. And so Haws is, obviously he is a player. He started every game at BYU, which that's saying a lot. Obviously he can score it. He's a great passer. He's got a flair for the game. He just gets it rolling. He's just a basketball player, right? I'm not sure. I don't know how exactly to describe him, but I think a great way to describe him, he's just a player, and he makes play after play after play for them, and he's got unlimited range. He makes the safe play, but yet he can make the spectacular play and everything in between, and he's got tremendous feel for the game. His numbers are outstanding, of course, and so he's a catalyst for them without a question. And Barcello, the Arizona transfer, is really, a lot of times it's always interesting. He got the waiver to play right away, and that's really helped them. He really stretches the floor. Another guy with tremendous feel for the game, and it's kind of like he's found new life, right? Like with the transfer and all those minutes, and he fits their style of play really, really well. Dalton Nixon is night and day from, he's really, his numbers are off the charts compared to last year, but he's another just kind of he would be kind of like their Justin Bean in a lot of ways, right? He just really good feel for the game, excellent offensive rebounder, gels into their stuff, and really knows how to play. Connor Harding, I feel like, has got much better from last year as well, and he's become a dead eye for them. So they're good. They put a lot of pressure on you, to say the least. But Haws is like the guy, kind of the guy that gets them rolling, and plays with great pace. Like that's what he does. He plays this really, really good pace.
How are you guys health-wise now? I know you've been dealing with much of that, but how are you doing?
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of coming out of some things, a little bit. It's helped to have, Sunday off. We went pretty light on Monday. Had the non-D1 game where we were able to get guys some minutes, but not crazy over-the-top minutes, and got everybody some run and off Wednesday. So I feel like we kind of got our legs back a little bit. Some guys getting over some of their sicknesses and some of their ailments. So, but this is one of those games, man. You prepare the best that you can. You throw it all out there, and then everyone looks great until you get punched in the mouth, right? and that's where it's really going to be at.
You mentioned how good the defense has been. When Neemias kind of gets back to what he was last year, how good can this team be? Not just on the offensive end or the defensive end, but also with what he does on offense. Yeah,
well, Nemi, you don't just go. It's hard to just go replace a guy that's very realistically going to be an NBA player, and obviously an all-conference player last year, and I think he was their second leading scorer and the defensive player of the year, and almost had the all-time record in block shots in one season, the school record, right? So that's hard to just replace with one guy. So it's been by committee. And we've said all along, when hopefully he, knock on wood, hopefully he gets back to the guy that we knew last year, and if he does that, I think the sky's the limit. But at the same time, I love the guys in our locker room that have gotten us to this point. I think Alfonso Anderson has really shown great strides. I thought Kuba was getting better, but he's just had an issue with staying on the floor, being health-wise, whether it was this summer or in quote-unquote training camp or now during the season. And then I think Trevin Darius is making great progress for us. He's still a redshirt freshman, so that's a work in progress, but definitely showing great signs. And even the other night we had played Bean at the 5 against Fresno a lot. So kind of a little unorthodox and maybe isn't exactly what we expected when we signed the guys that we signed in the early period and in the late period in April and in May, but nobody has a crystal ball to predict, how things are going to go. But I love our team. I love where we're trending, and certainly, hopefully, we can get Nimi back to being, the guy that he was last year.
When you play BYU, who can shoot it so well in places, your defense is kind of always butts to the back end line and try to move out, and sometimes teams can get threes against you. Do you have to change that a little bit because they shoot so well from three?
Yeah, I mean, you got to understand how they're getting them, and they're excellent in transition, and they get a lot of clean looks and free looks that way. And so we're going to have to be on point with that. And part of transition defense is taking good shots. So you got to know your personnel in a major way. But the personnel for these guys is they can all shoot. So you do have to make some adjustments that way in terms of your positioning and understanding their scheme, and that'll be a big part of it. And that's what makes them so good is when you add a guy like Yoli Childs, who gives them a much more of a low post presence.
Plus he can shoot three.
And plus he can shoot it, so that puts a lot of pressure on you when it comes to. And he's a great passer. So not only when you throw it inside, when you play him one-on-one, he can big boy you and just go right to the rim and score. Or if you're overhelping, anticipating, that you might need some help, now he just skips it opposite or makes the right decision off of that. And that's why he's a legitimate NBA prospect, because he can do all that stuff, right? And he can face you up and just, if you don't put pressure on him, he just rises up and scores over you. And he can face you up at the top of the key or whatever and just drive around you to either hand. So, with him being back in the fray, it's elevated everybody else because they're all getting even easier looks, right? The game becomes simpler, and that's what, quite frankly, Nimi does that for us because he's an excellent passer out of the post, and we've had to work harder to get clean looks on the offensive end with him not being in the lineup, just like they had to do that when Childs was out. But Nixon is such a versatile player, and he does the same thing. And so even though he's a little bit smaller, he's done a great job with that. And he's really, when we played these guys last year, I think he was 1 for 16 from the three going into the game, and now he's shooting it at a very high clip at 45.5%, 15 for 33. So, and then their big kid who's a sophomore, Kobe Lee, is shooting almost 59% from the field. So they've done a great job developing him as well. So, I know this isn't coaches speak. They've done a fantastic job. They're a very good team. They played a heck of a schedule up to this point, and so they're good. But we're going to come out and compete our tails off, and let's let the chips fall where they may.
Along that same line, Yoli last year, it seemed like just taking me off guard to see Yoli pull out the three, hit a right wing three on you guys later in the first half. Do you feel like you guys are kind of adjusted to having a big man be that athletic and that, I guess, versatile with he can be a great jump shooter and he can do a lot of great things in the post?
Yeah, and as much as you go into a game prepared for that, and you show film on that because he was shooting it well going into that game, but still you got to get your bearings right. And you sit, and he's a freshman, and that was early on, and I did a poor job with our guys that night, and I'm not sure we were ready for the big time at that time either. And that you go play in the Marriott Center, and they got it rolling. And that was their first night of the lefty. I forget his name. Emery came back, and the place was going bonkers. And I think he had his first 3 threes or whatever it was. But we've grown as a program a lot since that point. Our guys are a lot more battle tested now, and we've been through the ringer and won the Mountain West. Regular season and postseason title. So we've been down that road now, and there's baby steps. But certainly with Childs, he puts a lot of pressure on you because you think you got him guarded, and you forget. I don't know what he's listed at, 6'8", 6'9", whatever. But his arms are like a 7-footer, so he just rises up, and he's hard to contest late, right? And so you just like anything, when you're new and you haven't played a team, there's a familiarity that comes into place, and they're going to be more comfortable with us than they were last year, and we're going to be more comfortable with them, and that's how it goes.
How much are you kind of finding yourself trying to avoid putting too much attention on Childs and kind of figuring out how to just defend as a team, defend everyone? Yeah,
we have to defend everybody because they have 5 guys out there at all times that can score it, and they play their 6 of their, I think 5 of their top 6 are seniors, and 6 of their top 8 are upperclassmen. So you look at our roster, and even though we have a lot of veterans, we still are playing a lot of babies, so to speak, a lot of young guys. So we have to be on point in every way, shape, and form. We can't sit there and just overload on Childs and let everybody else go roughshod on us, and you know what I mean? We got to be on point, and that's what good teams do. They have 5 guys out there that can score and are multi-dimensional, but they do a good job of playing very connected on both sides of the ball, and that's what puts a lot of pressure on you.